Hey everyone, today we have the tier list for patch 15.9. This is going to be the final patch of set 15 and the final video for set 15. So if you want to do that last minute climb, now is the time to do it. Along with the tier list, we also do have coaching up at the top here if you want to contact some high level players that I've known for a long time and have been always recommending. But let's get into the best comps for this patch. In the S tier, we have Malzahar Heavyweights. The Double Trouble Malzahar is extremely good, so you can just hard force it if you get that. Juggernaut Fast 9 and Bastion Fast 9, the two Fast 9 comps, very strong still, especially late in the set. Fast 9 gets better and better. Fusion Dance Darius, this is a new addition to the mix. This is a power-up that they removed and then brought back, and it was very good when it was active before, so they're bringing it back so it's strong on the same exact champion it was strong on before, which is Darius. And then lastly, we have another new comp, Mech, Karma, and Volibear in the S tier. Then in the A tier, we have 6 or 7 comps here. We got Star Guardian, Katarina, Bastion, Xayah, Soul Fighter, Mentor, Ryze, Volibear, and then Crystal, Gambit, Ashe. And then the rest of the comps are in the B and C tier. You can still play them. I'm surprised they didn't go crazy on some of the buffs there, but it is what it is. Let's get into how to play each and every one of these comps. So in the S tier, we have the Malzahar Heavyweights. Both the standard and double trouble versions work really, really well. The only trouble is that you need Darius, and a lot of people are playing Darius because of the Fusion Dance thing. I'm sure you could still go Fusion Dance in the Malzahar build, but I typically go for this, or would want to go for this, if I have Blighting Jewel or the Double Trouble Augment. So those are two really good conditions for this comp. You can still play it regularly. It just won't be super OP. It'll just be like A+, S- tier. But again, people are going to be contesting Darius, but Malzahar is so nasty in this comp that it doesn't matter. As long as you get Noxus Trap on him, he's going to be doing a lot of value for your team. Blue buff plus AP items, Jeweled Gauntlet, standard damage items on Darius with the Lifesteal and Sterix Gauge, random tank items on Poppy, and then for Double Trouble, you want to play around Malzahar, Rammus, and Darius. They're all 3-cost units, so it's really easy to reroll them. You just want to do 3-cost reroll at level 7. So what that means is you want to stabilize in stage 3, and then econ back up, get to level 7, and then slow roll, meaning roll down to 50 gold every single turn until you get 3-star everything. That way, you don't really waste too much gold, but you still spend enough to live throughout the early and mid parts of the game. Because yeah, getting 3-star of these guys is extremely crucial to winning, but getting them 2-star saves your early and mid game. But overall, super easy comp. I won't linger too long on each of these comps since this is going to be the final video of the set, and I know I've reviewed a lot of these, but I know I reviewed a lot of these with some of you already. But if you know someone who hasn't, tell them about this video, and also tell them about bunnymuffins.lol/meta, where we have long, extensive guides for literally everything you need to know about how to play a comp, and we do this for every single comp, so definitely check that out if you have not already. Next one up we have are the 2 Fast 9 builds, Juggernaut and Bastion. So these builds require a lot of econ, very econ heavy augments, and also requires flexing your front line. So you could play Juggernaut or Bastion, they both work, and then you play around different legendaries. So for Juggernauts, we have Lee Sin, Twisted Fate, and Zyra as the main legendaries that you want. Braum is nice, but he's kind of optional. And then for Bastion, we have Braum, Twisted Fate, and Seraphine. And then we have Gwen as the optional one. Both of these require the same power-ups though. You want Noxious Trap. Noxious Trap is just OP. It just does too much because it saves you so many items. It saves you at least 2 items, if not 3. So if you have any good area of effect champions, such as Twisted Fate or Malzahar, it's extremely good on them, and it just saves you a lot of item slots. So that way you could build full damage or full tank on 1 more unit instead of building 2 utility items on them. And it just gives you a lot more power. But yeah, you flex the front line, get to level 9 as quickly as possible. Ideally, you have at least 40 gold when you hit level 9, preferably even a bit more. And then after that, you roll down to 0, get the 1-star copies of your legendary, econ back up, then at the start of the next stage, roll back down all the way to 0 again, and hopefully you 2-star some things. Another way to get legendaries is through augments. So you could have aura farming or golden quest that allows you to play around specific units depending if you hit them or not, and that makes the decision making a lot easier. But for both builds, you want to build around the Twisted Fate. Rageblade, Giant Slayer, Hextech Gunblade are all pretty standard items. He can use all sorts of stuff though. You don't have to build those items specifically. But the Rageblade is nice because you could combo it with Gnar at the start of the game, or like a lot of other random item holders, and then use gold generation power-ups and then get that to snowball you into the rest of the game. because you do need a lot of gold for this comp. Like the early game gold augments definitely help a ton, but they aren't mandatory. You could get a gold heavy portal, in which case maybe a few players along with yourself will all be going fast 9. Next build up we have is Fusion Dance Darius. So this comp was super fun, but then they removed it, but now they brought it back, and all you gotta do is match the Darius and the Jayce, have Darius eat Jayce, and then he becomes Super Darius. You just go Infinity Edge plus 2 other items like Sterix is probably the best, and then Handed Justice complements IE pretty well in this build. And then because of Fusion Dance, you get a % of the attack damage and health of the unit you eat. So that's going to be Jayce. And Jayce can get the power-up called Classy, which allows him to get an even bigger bonus from the Heavyweight trait. And that just gives way too many stats to your Darius once you use Fusion Dance. And yeah, Darius will 1v9 in a lot of situations. This comp gets even better if you have Radiant items or Artifact items, because you are literally only caring about 1 unit in this game. Normally in most comps with power-ups, like you care about 2 units, your damage power-up and your tank power-up unit. But this comp, you have everything concentrated into 1. So yeah, Radiant items are absolutely bonkers nuts on Darius. You can think of it as having 4 items on him instead of 3. So if you ever get like 2 Radiant items, that's 5 items instead of 3, right? And then with Fusion Dance, you just like give him 50% more stats. You could argue you could get up to 5 times 1.5, 7.5 items onto 1 unit in terms of napkin math. Like that's pretty good, right? And then he just completely carries the game. But yeah, you get 45% of their health and attack damage. And then if you have items on Jayce plus a Classy, it gets really ridiculous because of course Heavyweight also gives attack damage based on their max health. But this is a really fun comp to play if you have not played it before. Again, they brought it back, and yeah, artifacts make this S tier along with Radiant items because you are just doing the concentration of power in that build. Next build up we have is Mech Karma Volibear. This comp is going to be new for this patch. This is pretty much a 4-cost build with Jarvan, Volibear, Karma, and Ryze being the 4 costs you play, but you really only care about Volibear and Karma. Jarvan is there to hold random Protector's Vow and mana items that you get. Ryze is just there for random synergies and for his mentor buff. But essentially what this build revolves around is going to be the Mighty Mech. And then because Yone and Volibear share Edgelord together, he's just a nice little +1 to kind of add to this build. Mighty Mech, they don't really buff up the Mighty Mech units, so you don't need to build around them too much. But obviously, since you are going for Karma, she's easy to play around, so you build AP for her. And then melee items for Volibear. And Volibear isn't really like too desperate for traits. He can kind of be run solo if you really think about it. But again, he works nicely with this build because you have Yone to kind of work with him there. To play this comp, you want to do a fast 8 and you want like a strong Mighty Mech opener, and you also need Yone. So get him off Carousel if you haven't gotten him in your game yet. You could also try going to level 9 to do that. So instead of playing fast 9, let's say you have an econ augment at the start of the game, such as Hedge Fund, you can consider going the fast 9 builds of the Bastion and Juggernaut stuff. But if you don't have like an enormous amount of gold, or if you have like really good Mighty Mechs and you're kind of saving a bit of HP, you could consider going for the Mech Karma Volibear build instead. That way it's not as expensive because you're really just looking for 1 legendary. And that's how you get to 7 Mighty Mech, and then you could spend your gold going for 2-star 4 costs much more easily, and maybe even 3-star 4 costs later on. That's pretty much all there is for this build. One quick tip that I would say for this build is that you want to prioritize a lot of damage items because most of your front line is going to be in the mech. So normally you build like damage and tank items, but this time you focus mainly on damage. Also, Shred is important, so getting Ionic Spark or Void Staff is very useful in this build. It doesn't really matter who you put it on. If you have Spark, put it on Jarvan. If you have Void Staff, you could do like Ryze or Senna. Doesn't really matter who. You could even put it on Karma if you don't have enough items for her. But it is important to get that Shred in there. Oh, also power-ups. For Karma, probably Major Efficient, going to be usable. And then Volibear, Finalist, Double Strike, and Bludgeoner. Next comp up we have is going to be the A tiers. Star Guardians is going to be the first one we're covering. They changed the prismatic breakpoint for Star Guardians from 18,500 mana to 16,000. So if you do get a lot of mana regen and a lot of casting, you could go for the Prismatic Star Guardian build, which is really fun to get, obviously. So it is stronger in that sense, but it is still pretty difficult to reach. But it's going to be a lot easier to hit that breakpoint in this new patch compared to the old one. But if you don't get there, the regular comp still works out really well. Like this comp just has 7 Star Guardian. Playing this with the emblem, I think you just need the emblem for this comp. It's a lot stronger with it. But if you do get it, Jinx, Poppy going to be the main carries. Throw utility on Xayah. She's just there to apply the debuffs to everyone. She's really effective at that, considering she's a 2-cost unit. Seraphine's actually not a good spreader of utility items because she takes too long to cast. So that's why we prefer Xayah with this instead. But in your front line, make sure you're running Protector at all times because Star Guardians get a shield. And having 2 Protector means your shielded units gain durability. Also, when you play this comp, try to get a lot of items through your augments and just any way to buff up your whole team. The reason why you want to do that is because every unit in Star Guardians is important. They all do a lot of things. So compared to other comps where they only care about 1 or 2 units, such as the Darius comp, this is the complete opposite. You care about a lot of different units. So you either want a lot of items or a lot of combat augments to really buff everyone up. Next comp up we have is going to be Battle Academia Reroll with Katarina. This one's 2-cost reroll, very easy to play. So if you're a beginner or like you have a friend that's learning how to play, show them this comp, spam it, teach them how to do 2-cost reroll using the leveling patterns down here. And also tell them about positioning. This comp is very easy to position. You just put 1 on the left, 1 on the right. There are other versions where you solo frontline Katarina, but all that really matters is that you get Unstoppable on Rakan. That's by far the best power up in this comp because you need him to run up and kind of disrupt the other team, and it gives Katarina much easier backline access than she normally would get. For augments in this comp, you want artifact items and radiance to, again, concentrate power into Katarina. And other stuff that's good is augments that allow you to 3-star a unit faster, such as Pandora's Bench, Team Builder, things like that. But for items on Katarina, Edge of Night or Zonia's Paradox are mandatory, and then after that, Hand of Justice and Stridebreaker, pretty mandatory too. I actually honestly haven't played her without these 3 exact items, unless of course I get an artifact. So I would say it's pretty inflexible with the items. You do need perfect items, but after that, like Rakan's items don't really matter, Yuumi's items don't really matter too much. You just throw utility on her. But yeah, just make sure you're running Executioner at all time in the early game. So if you're like level 6, you want 5 Battle Academia plus 1 Executioner. Generally, it's going to be Callista because you don't have Ryze at that point in the game, but if you do, go ahead and swap. If you see Senna or something like that, you do not want to play Senna over Callista because it often is a waste of gold if it causes you to miss an income threshold. But if it doesn't cost you anything, then yeah, sure, you could run Senna over Callista, but honestly, it does not matter. Next comp up we have is Bastion Xayah reroll. This one's another 2-cost reroll comp, but you run 6 Bastion and you're focused on Shen plus Xayah. Similarly with the last build, there are very strict items in this build, so you want Pandora's items if you can get it. Rageblade plus Kraken on Xayah is almost mandatory, and then Giant Slayer is just a nice little add-on for her. And then for Shen, you want utility from Even Shroud and Sunfire Cape, and then lastly, a Warmugs is good to complement the Bastion trait because Bastion gives a lot of armor and magic resistance, and then Warmugs gives a lot of health, so you are balanced in all things. I forget what Shen's quote is. He says something about balance, right? Or was that Lee Sin? Honestly, I forget. But for power-ups, you want Double Strike or Sky Piercer if you do not have Sunder on Xayah. And then for Shen, Body Change or Inner Fire is good if you are missing Burn. After that, you may notice that you're running 3 Star Guardians. So if you ever get the augment where it's like, if you have 3 or less Star Guardians, you get like a bigger bonus. Pretty decent in this comp. It's not amazing because Shen doesn't use it, but it is pretty interesting to use. I personally have not gotten that with this comp, but in my head it works, right? Because you are meeting the requirements and it buffs up your Xayah a bunch. So who knows? Maybe it's troll. I don't know, but I'm thinking it's pretty good. But another thing to keep in mind with this comp is that it is a Xayah reroll comp, but you also do not want to get baited by fan service. Fan service is really bad. Do not play fan service until like they change it. I guess they won't change it anymore because it's the last patch. Next comp up we have is Soul Fighter, Samira, and Gwen. So this one's just a vertical Soul Fighter comp. Run as many Soul Fighters as you can. Only play this with the emblem and also try to only play this with the emblem version because it's much easier to hit 8 with the emblem. If you run without an emblem, it's kind of hard to play around with it because you have to end up running too many garbage units such as like Callista, Viego, things like that. So with the emblem, it makes it a lot easier to reach 8 and still have like real units on your board. For example, you could fit in Braum to give Luchador and Bastion for Volibear and Xin Zhao. And Volibear is also just good in general as a flex unit if you are running Edgelord, which you are in this case because you're running Samira. For items, Samira likes Spear Trojan plus IE. Third item doesn't really matter. Volibear can kind of use anything, I've realized. If we check out the Data Explorer on teamfight.lol, we can type in Volibear in the search bar, go to trades, or just add in Soul Fighter yourself, and then we could see what items work really, really well on him. I'd say Sterex is mandatory, but the other item doesn't really matter too much. Like some people like Bloodthirster, some people build Krakens, Hand of Justice, Titans, Edge of Night. But in terms of like what I'm seeing happening in the fights, I think Sterex is the most important, and then the other ones, do whatever you want. This team comp is also really, really good if you ever get the tournament favorites augment because it guarantees you a lot of the Soul Fighter units. For example, one of the rewards you get from tournament favorites is going to be Gwen, so that's really nice. So either get that or the emblem or get like a Nuts Soul Fighter opener, and this should be a very easy comp to go for. Next build up we have is Mentor Ryze Volibear. If you haven't noticed yet, Volibear can be flexed into so many different comps, but this one just revolves around the 4 mentors, Kabuko, Ryze, Udyr, and Yasuo. Ryze is going to be the carry here, so make sure you're running Executioner, at least 2 if not more. Obviously Lee Sin's a little difficult to get because he's a 5 cost, but Ryze is just really, really good at stabilizing once you get the 4 mentor buff because he turns into this like super carry. Without 4 mentor, he's not that great of a carry. You don't want to really put items on him, but if you do get him, 1-star Ryze can carry you through like the early parts of stage 4, no problem. The later parts of stage 4, you have to get a little lucky in some of the fights, or maybe you have like everything else upgraded. But I've seen so many people live on 1-star Ryze, and then in stage 5 they get the 2-star, and then they're still chilling with him there. Like I swear, 4 mentor Ryze, this whole set was just absolutely bonkers, as long as he had any semblance of decent items. After that, for Volibear, it's like the same item package. He likes Asterix a lot, and then in this build, you could do like IE Guard Breaker, but you just want to focus fire with them just so you get a lot of resets with Volibear. Throw all your mana items onto Jarvan plus whatever utility items you get, and then Lee Sin gets whatever you have left over at the end of the game. Next build up, we have is Crystal Gambit Ashe. Crystal Gambit still is good. You could use it to go into a lot of weird things. You could use Crystal Gambit cash out to go into any level 8 or level 9 comp that we talked about already, or you could play 5 Crystal Gambit like you see here, where we have Ashe, Xayah, Janna, Swain, and Vi, and then play around the cash outs. If you are able to find Ashe 2 on 4-1, you just win the game. I know it's hard to do that, but if you have decent econ at the start, it is possible, and then again, you just win. This is a very hit or miss comp. It's not for the faint-hearted, but if you do hit and get a lot of value from the 5 cost cash out or the 5 Crystal Gambit cash outs, you are going to be more than set to win the game because you'll have a lot of items to throw on people. So Ashe can get like Rage Blades and Kraken Slayers, Cassante can get whatever tank items, Braum can get pretty much anything. He can go tank or AD items, and then Jarvan, all the mana items, Lee Sin, anything you want, and then Xayah, all the AP items. So you have item holders for everything. You're going to print a lot of items from the Crystal Gambit cash outs. You'll get other rewards too, such as maybe like duplicators, gold, whatever, and that easily should help you snowball into the game. I guess one other random note is that a lot of people use like Tank Spine for Xayah in the early parts of the set, but they did change it, I think like 2 or 3 patches ago, where Deadly Spine's pretty good too. So what you want to do with Spines for any comp you're running Xayah in is if you don't have tanks, make it a tank one, and if you don't have damage dealers, make it a damage one. So in this game, we have a lot of melees up front, so we use the range version. It's pretty simple. Nothing too complicated there. They did balance this out so that you could use both of them. But that's going to be all the S and A tier comps for this patch. Summing up at the top, just in case you need the Spark Notes, yeah. If you ever get Double Trouble Malzahar or Blighting Jewel, just like hard force it. Don't care if you're contested because 2-star Malzahar will help you top 4 very easily. And then if the other guy dies, then you could go for 3-star and then ideally win the game. Fast 9 still very strong. You could play it through either Econ Augments, Econ Portal, or like Crystal Gambit gold cash outs from the early game and then pivot into it. Fusion Dance Darius, very fun if you have not tried it yet. It's hilarious because you just get this giant Darius. And then, yeah, the Mech Karma Volibear, Mech's just like pretty good in that build. So, yeah, there's that. But if you have any questions, let me know down in the comments below or refer to the site bunnymuffins.lol/meta in order to get a full rundown on how to play every single one of these comps. Bookmark it, put it on the side of your computer screen or second monitor or whatever. Alt-tab into it, browse it on your phone, do whatever you got to do because I swear a lot of easy mistakes people make when they're trying to climb really hard is just forgetting what units belong in a comp. And if you have the comp up on your second monitor or whatever, it's much easier to not make that mistake. But of course, you could always hit up some of the coaches on the website. We got a lot of good players here, so just hit them up whenever. The reason why I mentioned this is because they are very free right now because the new set has not come out yet. Once a new set comes out, they're going to be too busy playing, so if you want to book some coaching really quickly, this is a really good time to do that. But that's going to be it for me today. Hopefully you all enjoyed this video, and I'll see you all